Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 243 of the RRBG podcast. This podcast is a proud member of the Podbelly Network. Go to podbelly.com and check out all the amazing shows we have on our network, including the Sofa King podcast, Robots for Eyes, Art and Jacob Do America. I mean, there's one for everything that you're into. If you're into Magic the Gathering, they got you. If you're into the occult, they got you. You're into serial killers, they got you. Everything. Go to podbelly.com, check out the list, and support the network. This episode is also brought to you by Killcliff. My friends over at Killcliff make the best energy drink you can buy in the market today. Clean energy, none of that crap that they put in Monster or any of those Red Bulls. No sugar, just clean power for all the grind you're going to have to put in today. And if you're not grinding today and you just want to relax, they also have CBD drinks to help you recover from any injuries you may have, any kind of inflammation. Maybe you went a little too hard at the gym. CBD drink will get you right back on track. Go to their website, killcliff.com. Check out all their different flavors. My personal favorite Ignite drink is the Cherry Limeade. And in the CBD category, you have to try the Joe Rogan Special. It's the Flaming Joe Pineapple with Jalapeno. It's not that spicy. You just get a little bit of a kick at the end. It's delicious. Go to killcliff.com and tell them that RRBG sent you. This podcast is also brought to you by Saints Joints. Go to saintsjoints.com and check out all the awesome products they have there, including the new Book of Saints that comes with 4 packs of pre-rolled joints. It's this incredible, lavish, luxurious-looking gold foil stash box. The works. It's the best-looking stash box I've seen. Make sure to go pick one up before they're all gone. And also check out the new hash-infused pre-rolls. Don't forget, it's saintsjoints.com, and make sure you tell them that we sent you. In this episode, it's the return of the powerful Jesse Leach of Killswitch Engage and Times of Grace. We talked about his new show, Stoke the Fire, with Matt Stocks. I was fortunate enough to be a guest on that. Follow them at Stoke the Fire Pod. We went deep this episode. We talked a lot about mental health, the state of the country and the world as it is, the type of food that we're putting into our bodies, our access to technology and information. I mean, it was a real deep conversation. That's why I love talking to Jesse. I hope you guys enjoy it. Follow him on social media at Jesse_D_Leach. Follow Stoke the Fire. Follow Killswitch Engage. Follow Times of Grace, pick up the album, follow The Weapon NYC, and if you get a chance, go to patreon.com/RRBG and support this podcast that you're listening to right now. Cheers!
I lost a lot of sleep with my restless mind. I can't conceal the bleeding of the pain we hide. If there was anywhere to show you so you could see.
Yeah. 1, 2, getting ready for live shows.
Yeah. Crazy. Soon.
Hopefully. Shit.
I know, right? That's exactly how I feel too. Just waiting for that someone to be like, guess what? Psych.
It's a bummer, man. I'm looking at, I wake up and I look at, the Instagrams and I see like 9 Inch Nails canceling and Deftones canceling. I'm like, I get it. I'm not like, I'm mad. It sucks that we're still not there yet, but I get it. I mean, I hear stories.
Well, that's why you got the Megadeth Lamb of God Trivium Tour is going to be how the Slipknot tour is going to be. The band and the crew stay away from everybody. On the bus, the dressing room, we have no guests, no family, no friends, no management, nobody. We're isolated and sticking to each other. We have air filters on the bus. So we're doing all this prep to hopefully nobody gets it. That's it. When somebody gets it, it shuts down. So right. It's a gamble because you don't know, vaccinated or not, you could get it. So. Mm-hmm.
And it's anybody in the tour package, too. It could be Slipknot's tour package or tour team or whatever. Anybody. Somebody in the camp gets it, got to stop.
Yeah, so it's going to be a lot of bike riding for me, a lot of video games, a lot of sitting in my bunk watching sci-fi and documentaries.
Hell yeah. I mean, hey.
Yeah, a long 6 weeks, dude.
Yeah.
If it happens,
Hopefully, man. I think so. I mean, Psycho Las Vegas is happening right now.
Yeah.
And that's where I was supposed to be actually this weekend. I'm glad it actually worked out, our timing with doing this and everything. Like, I was going to go to Psycho, and I was like, maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe not yet.
I know, dude. It's a part of me, too. It's such a roll of a dice, man. It's like, a part of me wants to be a hermit for a little while longer. But you know what? It's exciting. Let's see what happens. At the least, somebody gets a little sick. Hopefully no one gets really sick. And it's over, but at least we gave it a shot. That's the way I'm looking at it. Just trying to stay positive.
Yeah, man.
Take it one day at a time, and then,
Well,
get back out on the stage would be nuts, though, man. It's going to be nuts.
My concern for you personally, like I put myself in your shoes, and my thing would be I'd be overwhelmed on, like, in the middle of a song, right? Like a very important song, it's a very important lyric, and you have one of those moments where you're going to wake up and be like, this is happening right now. We're live.
It might.
And like, you might you get that little shortness of breath going, like, oh fuck. Like,
yeah, but if that moment does happen after the fact, I'll talk to the audience, and it'll probably be a pretty funny thing if that does happen.
Yeah.
That's kind of how you have to look at it. It's like, shit happens. I definitely screwed up. I'll never forget, man. It was like one of the first tours I came back, and we were doing My Curse, and I didn't really know the song that well yet. And I messed it up bad. And I just remember just laughing. I just stopped. I just started laughing. And then everyone else around me was like, and then after that, it was like people laughed. It's like, it happens. It happens.
Adam comes in with some kind of ridiculous joke, something very inappropriate to cover.
Chastised me. No, he chastised me. The new old guy, fucking it up. Yeah.
Speaking of Adam, I'm actually going to go see him tomorrow. We're gonna try and hang out tomorrow. I'm going to drive down to San Diego. That was the other thing. I was like, if I'm not going to do the Psycho Las Vegas thing, I need to do something. And I need to get out. I want to go. I wanted to take my dog to a dog beach because he's never been to the beach.
Oh yeah.
So I was like, there's a cool dog beach down there. I hit up Adam. I'm like, you want to meet up for lunch and drinks after? I'm going to take the dog to the beach, and you can bring your dogs if you want. If not, we'll meet later. And I think we're just going to have dinner and drinks later, hopefully.
That sounds great, man. Yeah, that's a nice little dog beach down there. I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah, man.
I stayed at that little hotel a few times, recording the one raid on the dog beach. It's a little teeny hole in the wall. Dog beach is awesome, dude. It's nice to see dogs like spazzing out and having a good time, man. It's great.
I'm wondering how he's going to react because he's pretty much. We picked him up at a shelter in Lancaster. We drove all the way up to Lancaster, which is like an hour and a half. It's a long drive, but went up there, picked him up, and he's just been in here this whole time. We take him for walks, obviously, but it's he's never seen the beach, so I'm wondering if he's going to like it or he's going to hate the water.
I bet you he's gonna freak out, have fun, and be nervous, but like it's probably gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we're trying to socialize him. Like we take him to a doggy daycare thing where he could play with other dogs and stuff.
Yeah. Oh, I think dogs with open spaces, especially dogs that are, somewhat confined to a house or an apartment, love open spaces. I love seeing that. People that live in the city, they bring their dogs out, and the dog just starts freaking out when they get off. It's awesome. Great. That's how it should be, man.
Hell yeah. So you've been doing a lot of going out and you got your podcast with Matt, which thank you so much for letting me be a part of it. Letting me come on and tell my ridiculous stories that
it's coming.
It's coming. Like when you guys hear it, I mean, I even had one of those panic attacks afterwards. Like, did I say too much? What did I say?
Oh, we loved it, man. We loved it. We're just very meticulous with how we roll out episodes. But I thought it was a great one, dude.
I mean, again, it's one of those, it's just mental health issue kind of thing that I've noticed developing over the pandemic. It's getting worse. Like the panic of all kinds of things. Like, oh, what did I say? Did I say the right thing? Like it's
that is my daily life, honestly, since this whole thing. And for some reason recently, it's been bad. Like I've been getting anxiety daily. I think maybe it's because leading up to potentially going out there.
Yeah.
But I feel you, man. It's been rough. At first, it wasn't so bad. And then in the middle there, we're all just kind of stuck in the fear. And then you kind of get, it's the phases of COVID. It's just you get to that point where you just start questioning everything. Yeah. And I think I definitely went through that, and I'm still going through that now. Because, we had the world reopen, quote unquote, and now we have this variant. Now all this other, and I'm like, when is it really going to end? I think that's kind of where I'm at with it. But you're right. It really makes me self-conscious and self-reflective. So I can relate to that, dude. I'm always being like, shit, did I fuck that up? Did I piss that person off? Did I say something stupid? It's the voice in my head daily. I have to battle that. It sucks. I know. I feel you, man.
So for someone like us, like, how do we, what would be your best advice to try and address that issue? Because a lot of people just kind of succumb to it. So a lot of people acknowledge that they have mental health problems, and you'll see they'll post stuff online, like not just you, but like a lot of my friends I'm seeing, like, posting more about their mental health, which is a good thing. I think the conversation is important. How do we fix it? Like, what's the best avenue to start trying to fix this? Because I honestly, I don't remember being so anxious before. Like, maybe, obviously old age, but I definitely feel like there was a change in my life where, like, now that I've acknowledged that there's a problem there, it's just nonstop, and I want to get away from that, And
I think it's a difference between, because for me personally, I masked it and like soaked it in alcohol and drugs and all kinds of shit. And I think for me, I go for days without drinking, which I never used to do. Like, I haven't had a drink in, I don't even know, 4 or 5 days, which is a lot for me. I'm doing the whole healthy before tour cleanse thing. So that's part of it, is if you're somebody who manages it and maintains it with substances, and you take that away, that can totally rock your boat. But alcohol works immediately, and then in the long run, it kicks you in the ass, man. I feel like it spirals you because it is a depressant, and it does, I believe, cause anxiety, if not while you're drinking, after the fact. The come down, the hangover the next day. Sucks. I would say number one, though, for me, besides having a clean diet, which I'm annoyingly healthy with my diet. I eat very clean, very lean. But I'd say exercise is huge. Even if it's just long walks, like go out for a long, brisk walk, just get oxygen, get sweat. That's the number one thing. And I don't always get to do that because my brain sometimes will keep me in bed. Like lately, honestly, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I spent a ton of time in bed, like binge watching shows lately. Because to me, it just feels like a warm blanket, that no one can fuck with me. So I think it's a balance between taking care of yourself, allowing yourself to have downtime to like let your brain just zone out on. I've been watching the show Chopped, like just some cooking show that's like whatever. It doesn't.
No, I love Chopped.
It's great, but there's no real significance to it in my life, so I don't care what happens. It's just fun and dumb to watch. And then, exercise is crucial, but also, how are you feeding your head? What are you putting in there? I don't care if it's music, media, social media, people that are around you that talk to you and support you. Like, all of those things play an element to anxiety. If my girlfriend's in a bad way and she's not doing too good, I'm an empath, so I get anxious to like help her. It runs the gamut. It's a constant push and pull. And I think it's also a constant evolution. You have to be aware. You have to be willing and open to learn how to get better at managing that stuff, sharpen your tools, as I like to say. But it's a never ending thing. It's not like you're just going to have one day and like, oh, it's all gone.
Yeah, there's no cure.
No, I don't think there is cure. And some people need medication. Thankfully, I don't have to rely on that for now.
Yeah.
But I'll have to just say it again. I exercise, getting out and getting a good sweat, and finding something that you like to do. Don't just go to the gym and like, I hate this. I'm doing it because I have to.
Right.
Get on a bicycle. Whatever it is that makes you go surfing, like whatever it is that you find some joy in that gets you going. That is the absolute best medicine, I think, on the planet. Number one, right there.
Yeah, man. I completely agree. I've been doing that lately. With walking the dog is a good one. I get to go out 3 times a day for a nice long walk, interact with, nature a little bit. But yesterday, it's interesting, man. I speaking of, addressing mental health, I decided to take a little bit of the mushrooms.
Oh yeah.
Just a little dabble.
Yeah.
And I took it was like a stem and a cap. I just, but it's weird. So usually taking some mushrooms would enlighten me, right? It would make me feel good. I would focus more. I would break down my mental health and what's causing it and kind of like compartmentalize and try and make it work. But yesterday I got hit with a weird, like, oh no, the apocalypse. Like, I went outside walking. It was just a matter of like the timing, the sun, the way the sun was hitting. There was like fire truck sirens in the distance. And I looked over and I saw like a lady kind of just all covered up and running. And I'm like, this is the end.
Call that the sideways when you have experience that's, you know, I'll get into these weird little funks where I get grumpy. I'm like, this is supposed to like make me feel relaxed. But every once in a while, you never know. That's the thing with mushrooms. You never know from batch to batch, from stem to stem, you're getting something different. You know, I'll have a little cap in the stem and then I'll be out of my mind. And I'm like, wow, I was trying to microdose. Yeah. Or, you know, I'll have a bunch and I'm like, oh, I just feel like crap. I want to go to bed. So mushrooms are tough, man. It's good medicine. And I actually highly recommend it, you know, in small doses, but yeah, you never know where you're getting, dude. You can go in the sideways.
I'm excited to see the science kind of evolving in that department because, you know, you're seeing it in a few states where they're legalizing psychedelics for like, you know, clinical treatment, right, as medicine for people for mental health and depression and anxiety and all that. And I think I'm all for it. Like study it, you know, put it under a telescope, figure out how much we need to take or what kind we need to take to fix certain problems. I'm all for that. I'm all for that. So, you know, I obviously I'm not a big pharma kind of guy. I don't like you know, medication per se. But if it's something natural like mushrooms and you can just break it down and understand the science behind it, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I think pharmaceuticals are mimicking what's in nature anyway. You know, most of the things that we need, I'd say majority of them, personally for me. I mean, there's extreme cases of people that absolutely need the pharmacy medication they're on. I get that. You can't say a blanket statement about that. But for me, my issues, I have found that nature's provided everything that I need, whether that's pain relief or, you know, being able to take a deep breath and look deeper within yourself. I mean, there's a plethora of things. And it's to me, plant medicine has changed everything for me. It's changed my diet. I've lost weight. I feel better. My blood flows better. My cholesterol is lower. It's all just from plant medicine. And in essence, what you eat and what you put in your body is medicine too. So if you treat it that way, if you really, and this is a discipline. This is something that's taken me years to finally get to this point where I'm understanding that my mental health has to do with food medicine. So it's not just psychedelic mushrooms or, you know, LSD or, you know, medical marijuana, but it's that whatever you're putting first thing in the morning too, that first thing you put in your body, that's going to set the pace for the whole day. So I've been starting my days every single day with raw ginger, turmeric tea that I boil with certain blends of roots and stuff and honey. And I drink that first thing, warm cup of tea. Then I do a fruit smoothie with sea moss, like total health freak shit. But I got to be honest with you, it's changed my mind. It's changed my body. It's completely helped me see things differently and realize what you're putting in your body really sets the tone for your overall health, including mental health, you know?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I had the misfortune of being raised in a house where that wasn't a concern. Like my father is weird. Like my father was healthy, but my mother didn't really care what it was. It was just like, here's food.
Right. Yeah.
We're poor. You need to eat. Here's some food. You know what I mean?
Pretty much the same with me. Yeah. I mean, they tried for sure. But yeah, I grew up in a very, but a poor family as well. At least in the beginning, you know, my younger years are very poor. So we'd go to the food co-op and, you know, government cheese and all that, like horrible edible food product, you know,
something that make you not hungry.
Yeah, from my young age, I remember that. So powdered milk, you know, all that garbage. But you got to do what you got to do to survive. And those are different times too. I think we live in times where people are a lot more aware of, you know, plant-based diets and food medicine and Ayurvedic. And, you know, I think for me, the first time I realized it was eating Indian food. You know, the spices that they put in their food help you digest the food, like the fennel and the cinnamon and, you know, the curry powder, like all that stuff helps you digest what you're eating. So it's brilliant. Like Ayurvedic medicine, Ayurvedic food from the East is just incredible. And that's kind of my turning point, was getting into those types of food when I was younger and realizing after I eat a big, huge Indian meal, I'm full, but within an hour or two, I'm like, oh, I don't feel so bad. I don't feel weighed down like I would if I had a big steak or whatever, you know?
Right.
I'm not knocking steak, man. I don't eat it, but It is delicious. I'm not going to front.
Are you off meat completely now then?
Yeah, I don't. The only thing I do is I do fish and shellfish occasionally. Usually when I go out to a restaurant, that's kind of what I tend to do. But at home, in our home, my girlfriend and I, it's strictly plant-based. There's no dairy. There's no gluten even. We don't do gluten breads. It's very, very raw and like super healthy, bare bones kind of stuff, which you would think is miserable, but it's not. We cook up a storm on a regular basis, have people over, and they're like, wow, this is really good. So I think it's all about preparation, knowing the texture, knowing how to spice things, and how to prepare things. But it's kind of a quiet passion. I'm not super outspoken about it, but when it comes to mental health, I can't not mention it. It really doesn't.
Absolutely, man. If you're putting death in your body, it's not really a good thing to be putting in your body, right? I mean, unless that's your thing. If you're into, you live in that dream, that life of death metal.
Yeah, I think it'll catch up to you at some point, but you never know, man. My grandmother would eat bacon all the time, and I have people who have relatives who are in like pushing 100 who chain smoke cigarettes. You never know.
Yeah, Spain's famous for that kind of shit. Like a lot of people in Spain are like 102. They've been smoking every day, eating entire ham legs. Like, okay.
Well, also too, it depends on the type of meat you're eating. A lot of the European countries like Italy and Spain and France, they're getting good stuff that's not on these huge, massive farms with cows sitting in their own shit, being pumped with all kinds of, the meat industry is pretty horrible. But as a real food lover and someone who's worked in a kitchen and someone who's just been around it, I don't hate on people for eating meat. I'm not one of those people. I'm not a vegan. I'm not, I think to each their own. But if you're going to do it, space it out. Don't do it all the time and get quality stuff. Yeah. It's a huge difference. And it's not just going to like your regular generic grocery store and pulling a thing off the shelf like that. I don't know. That's dangerous, man. It's just, and you're not getting life out of it. As opposed to if you go to a farmer's market, right, and you pick up a steak there, you're going to taste a world of difference, and you're going to be supporting that farmer and not some huge corporation that's processed it. I think that goes for any food whatsoever. I love food, so I would never tell somebody what to eat, but you're going to do it right, man.
Yeah, man. You could taste the difference. Like if you ever go and get actual milk from a farm, it's completely different. Different. And the eggs too, way different. That's what I've been trying to do.
Orange, red, like eggs and the milk. It's funny too, because most people will try that type of milk and be like, oh.
Yeah, it's gross. It grosses them out.
That's what it's supposed to taste like.
Yeah, it's weird, man. It's weird. We're living, you want to think that America is the greatest country in the world, as they say. Yeah, we're free to do a lot of things here, but I encourage everyone to travel. Just go look at what other people are doing too, because there's such a difference. Spending a month in Spain, just waking up, they're like, you're hungry? Go get some fruits from the yard. I'm like, oh, okay. And just go out and there's trees and you got to like find what you're going to eat that day. And while that's happening, someone else is cooking shit they're cooking it and it's not even going to be ready for 12 hours, but they're getting it ready for later. And it's just like a constant culture of just being the community aspect of it, taking care of each other, making sure the food's right. And like here, it's more like, what can we churn out and make more money out of? It's not like that over there. I think it's, people criticize it or, commies or whatever they want to call it. It's just, it's different, man. I think it's healthier for everyone. I think
it is.
The nap situation over there that they go to sleep at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm all for that. We need to take a nap. Why not? Yeah. We're working all the time.
Naps are crucial. I'm a nap guy. I love naps.
Dude, it's important, man. We grow up around it, but then we don't do it when we're adults. Like when you're little, there's nap time. I remember that at like daycares and like I remember from like elementary even, there's just time when everybody would go take a nap in school. And then we just stopped doing that as adults. Why?
I would do it all the time. Like even when I had like a regular job, on my lunch break, I'd take like a 15-minute power nap and I'd be good to go. It's like the sweet spot, 15, 20 minute. If you can master that technique, which I'm pretty damn good at, especially on tour, I'll do it all the time. We'll do sound check and I'll have lunch. I'll go out for a long walk or a bike ride, come back, and I will take a 15-minute, 20-minute power nap. And I'm like, good, I'm ready for the show. Napping's amazing, dude. And as you get older, you kind of can't help it, dude. You have that little slump midday. Everybody goes through it. And either you pound a coffee, which, I'm trying not to drink that all the time, or just take a power nap, dude.
Yeah, my issue is I got to figure out I got to plan it right, because what's happening is now I'm working so much that I work until I pass out, and that's my nap. You know what I mean? Like I'll wake up on the couch just like mouse in hand, like oh shit, and then like all right, let's back to work. So I gotta like plan it. I want to be able to be like, all right, it's nap time. I gotta go take a nap because
during these times though, when everyone's working from home, it's so easy to just zone out.
Yeah.
But I want to go back to what you said about travel. I completely agree with that. Travel has changed my entire life, like my whole worldview, everything. Experiencing different cultures. I spent a good amount of time in Costa Rica fairly recently, and stayed at this house where breakfast was all around you, and pick from the mangoes from the trees. Like we had a gardener there at the place we stayed at. It was a friend. A bunch of us were staying at this house, and the gardener would come once a week and gather a bunch of stuff and put it on the table. And wow, fruit salad and fresh stuff. Like every morning we had fresh stuff to eat. And there's a barter system that you see in a lot of countries too, with some of the locals, where sometimes they don't even exchange money. It's just one person will trade their fruit for a coconut, or that barter system, which actually is up here in Woodstock where I live. I see a lot of that as well. That's such a nice community aspect where you're not involving, the commerce, the consumerism. It's a really nice way to live. And it's like that in Thailand. I spent about a month in Thailand too with my girl.
Jealous.
The food there is so good that, I could pretty much eat what I wanted. And I could even eat gluten. I have a gluten intolerance. I get pretty sick if I have flour and wheat. But over there, I was eating like a champion. I could have bread. I could have, all kinds of stuff because they process it differently. The glyphosate that we have in all of our foods here, the GMO stuff, that shit kills me. Mm-hmm. And as you travel, you see, as much as I love this country to live here, I wouldn't say it's the greatest. People who say it's the greatest are oftentimes people who don't travel. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the people who are these quote unquote bold patriots, there's an ignorance there because they haven't traveled the world. And I'm not gonna be one of those snobby people. I've traveled the world, but right. I've traveled the world and I've seen, there's so much that the world has to offer that can teach us. Mm-hmm. So that mentality that tends to happen when you're stuck in your neighborhood, stuck in your country for so long, you never see the outside world. I feel like you can change that. And when you do change that, you see everything completely different. And I would even say to people who love this country so much, travel within the country.
Yeah. Get out of your town.
Dude, seriously, this country is beautiful. I've seen some of the most beautiful landscapes out west. Yeah, travel is everything. It really is. I guess that's my main point. Get out and travel if you can. And you don't even have to do it. It's not even that expensive. The flights to get somewhere, yes. But once you're there, you got hostels. In Thailand, we were staying on the beach for $25, $30 a night. That's on the beach, a beach bungalow. You go out for a meal, it's $8 per person. There are ways. You just have to do research. It just takes a little research. And obviously the time to travel, that's a luxury as well. But when you're in a band that travels, I'm kind of already out there. So sometimes I'll just stay somewhere, and have my girl come out and meet me. Yeah. Travel's changed everything, dude.
Yeah, man. I've been very fortunate to do a few trips to different countries because I know a lot of people don't have that opportunity or whatever. I don't even know how I had those opportunities. To be honest with you, looking back, I'm like, how did that even happen? How did I end up in Peru for a month doing the Inca Trail and doing the, going to the Machu Picchu ruins out there to discover myself and all this shit? I don't know how we got there. I can't tell you. It's not like I had so much money. Yeah, that wasn't the issue. It just happened. So if you can find a way to travel, I think that's one of the most important things ever. To learn just the way that people live. You learn to appreciate the fact that you can wake up, if you're fortunate enough to even have AC, but if you have AC, your house is a nice temperature. You're not waking up in sweats from your
covered in bugs.
And there's the walls are made of mud bricks. And it's what the... you learn to appreciate what you have. And I think it's super important.
And also you meet those people who do live that way and they're happy.
They're so happy. They don't have anxiety. You tell them about anxiety and depression. They're like, what? What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's funny. We live in such luxury in this country and have no idea. And people think they can't afford to travel. Most of the people I know that travel constantly are not rich at all. They work from town to town. They will do some work for a few weeks at a farm, at a cafe, and they go to a hostel. Like, I know people that are just backpacking around the world and they're super happy. Yep. Obviously COVID's kind of put a little bit of a strain on that, but I still follow people on Instagram that are traveling and they've just stayed within a certain area, but they're still doing it. They're still out there. And I love that vagabond gypsy style. It takes a lot of guts to do that. Not necessarily a lot of money. And I think that's it. It's a state of mind. A lot of people tell themselves they can't do this and they're never going to do it,
Yeah, if you keep putting your own walls up, you're never going to go through them,
Yeah. Yes, that's actually a great point. Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah, so I can't wait to travel again.
Well, you do a good fair amount of traveling, which I'm happy for you, man. I used to travel a lot more. Unfortunately, these days it's not a thing. That's why I'm going. San Diego's like travel for me these days. It's weird. So I love moving around and just seeing other things, dude. It's not good to just sit around. A lot of people these days, especially during the pandemic, all they have is this little square right here. This is it.
Yeah.
They're and I try to get out, but a lot of people, they all day looking at videos and, let me post this meme and let me post that meme. And it really drives me nuts to just see people wasting their lives that way. Like, I'm a part of it too with the podcast, but it's like, okay, an hour or something just to do work stuff and then back to life,
Yeah. I think it's depressing. I really have limited myself, especially lately, a lot. Where I'll just put my phone on airplane mode, and use it as a camera when I'm going out in nature or whatever. But I think it's super important. You got to stay engaged to a degree, especially if that's part of your job and you just want to know what's going on in the world. But like, too much of that shit is toxic. And you're right. It just kind of puts you in this little, you put your blinders on and you see the world through this filtered lens of paranoia and anger and hatred and arguing and all this shit, man. I mean, it also depends on who you're following. And that's a huge thing too. I've been telling people when I talk about mental health on podcasts or just in daily conversation, start unfollowing some people. I have 2 accounts on Instagram. I have one that's for like my music and, I'll post up my podcast and stuff like that. And I don't really check the comments. I just kind of like try to engage a little bit. And then I have a personal account that's just, and most of the stuff I follow there is like cat videos and travel videos and chefs and bartenders, like shit that makes me happy, And I think we've got to be careful how much we're feeding into the fear and paranoia and negativity. You got to balance it out with positive stuff, or just put the phone down and live in real time.
Yep.
Live in the moment, sit with yourself. I find myself distracting myself a lot with whether it's music or TV because I have a very anxious, overthinking brain. So I've been making a point to shut everything down and start doing breathing exercises and meditation. There's this guy, Wim Hof, that I follow on Instagram that I've learned a lot about. He like climbed Mount Everest with, bare feet. Like, he's just really crazy, like guru kind of guy that learned from the Shaolin monks, their breathing and meditation techniques. And he teaches breathing classes, and he's been on like the Russell Brand podcast, and he's somebody worth looking up. Wim Hof, Wimhof. I do his breathing exercises, and they actually help alkalize the body. You can change your body through breathing and thought. It's so mind blowing. So learning that fairly recently, and like applying that to my life in just the opposite way, we're programming ourselves with whatever we're feeding into on social media. We're allowing that negativity, that fear, that shit to drive us crazy. And I don't care what you believe, where you are politically or what's going on. You need to take a break from engaging about that stuff. You need to take a break and just follow your heart. Allow yourself to be present to people you love, and stop engaging in all these arguing. Like, discussions are good, conversations are good, but I feel like people are spending way too much time arguing. But you have control over that.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people just get stuck. Like, shut it off, man. Take a break. You got to do it.
It's an addiction with a very sickening result. Like, you get that mentality. Like, you see that, how is trolling a thing? That blows my mind. Like, wait, what do you do all day? You purposefully go online to make people feel bad because it makes you feel good because your life, you hate yourself, right? That's what's going on. Like, it's insane.
It is mind blowing, yeah. And it gives people the bravery to say that shit where they never would do that face to face. Never.
I get caught up in it sometimes with but it's like a small circle of close friends from my high school. Like we have a little group chat and we get caught up in arguing in there. And then every once in a while I'm just like, nope. And I just mute it, put it away. I'm like, I'll get back to it later. And they're like, hey, Eddie, where are you? I'm like, I'm not going to argue. That's what's happening. That's where I'm at. I'm not going to argue with you guys. There's no point. I don't like that that's happened. I think that's where my mushroom trip, where I was looking at the apocalypse, I think that's what it was like around, the fact that it's hard to not feel helpless looking at all these people yelling at each other. You know what I mean? And I can disconnect myself, but there's also this like urge of like, I need to help them. Like I don't want to just abandon ship. You know what I mean? I feel weird. I don't know how to. I think that's where the majority of my anxiety comes from. Like I want to help, and I don't know how, and I don't know how to get to these people. You know.
I think it's balance, and I think another thing that's really important too is knowing when to engage and when not to. You know, because I'm part of a bunch of group things as well, and you know I'll take a week off of it. And I'll just watch, and I'm like, man, I can't even do that. And a lot of times, too, that I think is a problem, people speak out of anger. You know, if you're reacting to somebody and it's a knee-jerk reaction and you're angry, you're going to say things that you might not necessarily 100% mean. And I think that some of those words can't be taken back. You know, relationships have failed over those types of things. And I have found that wisdom is definitely should come into play, and you should, with something that's serious or something you're angry with, I always say sleep on it. You know, I'll get to a point where I'm pissed off about something or I'm angry with something, and I'll make peace with the situation and I'll revisit it after I've taken like a day or two. And oftentimes the way that my brain is, the results that come after that are definitely different than they would have been in the moment. And I see that wisdom plays a role in that patience of allowing yourself to process something. I think that's super important. We don't do that a lot because it's always instant gratification, you know, you see someone typing in the ... You're like, what? It's just, it's constant barrage. And I mean, that causes anxiety. And I think that's why anxiety is on the rise. I think that's why we're talking so much about mental health, because we are all living in this little square because the pandemic has caused us to do that. And now it's the regular. And I think that, you know, we're still going through it. So you have to learn how to manage that shit. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. It's not easy.
Yeah, it's so funny that what, bro? That
yeah. You see the ... and you're just like, oh, what the fuck? What are you gonna do now?
That's hilarious, man. Because I definitely feel that vibe, dude. I felt that, you know, like high school shit, or you know, back in New Jersey. That what, man? What are you looking at? Like everybody's so aggressive. I don't know. I try not to. Like you just disconnect and forget about it, but every once in a while, I want to know how I can help. I'm like, how can I assist you, please? You're all having a hard time, dude. And with that in mind, I wanted to bring up your podcast, the Stoke the Fire. I really, really think it's great what you're doing, man. The bringing in, you know, talking very deep things. With your buddy Matt, and bringing in guests that are, you know, you have your big names, obviously, Randy Blythe and whatnot, but you also have listeners. And I think that's nobody's doing that. Nobody's doing that. So that's very unique. And I think it's great to let people tell their stories, you know?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's been edifying. It's a slow burn, you know, it's not a hit show per se, but I think the importance of it far outweighs that. And I think even if it is a slow build, I think it's important for people to be able to tell their stories regardless of who they are, you know, and how our ratings are. Because, you know, the big names, like you mentioned, Randy, that was probably our best episode to date as far as the numbers. And he said a lot of profound, amazing things. But I've been, you know, some of those listener podcasts are absolutely profound. And they tell these incredible stories. And, you know, the whole thing when we started the podcast was like, we want to talk about common everyday things and allow them to go deep. So oftentimes we'll start the conversation fairly casually, and within 10, 15, 20 minutes, it's deep. Yeah. And it just happens naturally that way because we're open to it, you know? And I think that my entire life of dealing with interviews and media, it's always surface. It's always like a script and question and the answer and the question. And I love the conversation. There's every once in a great while when I was on press tours or talking about my music or whatever, I would get these journalists who would not have a notepad out, and they would just sit there and talk to me because they've done their research. They know who I am. And those conversations were like, whoa. And I remember thinking to myself, that is interesting to me. And then started getting into podcasting a couple of years later. And I think that's the beauty of podcasts. There's no rules, really. I mean, that can be detrimental because it can be horrible. You know, like there's some podcasts that like I can't listen to. The long form conversation, you get to stuff that you normally wouldn't get to. And I think that that's where the real shit comes up. You know, the real powerful stories. We just did one recently. Matt and I were in tears. It was the most profound, heavy, and not only is it good for the podcast and for others to hear it, but I got off the podcast and it sat with me for like the rest of the day. Mm-hmm. And it really sort of like, I had these aha moments during that. And I can recall them right now in my brain, like, because I was just listening to somebody. And I think that's the power of listening. Mm-hmm. We don't do it like we should. A lot of us don't. We'll hear somebody out and then respond. Like you're just like loading your gun to respond. Like, all right, I know what I'm going to say. I'm kind of listening to you, but you got it all wrong. And like that mentality is detrimental to us in our growth, you know, as humans. And I think when you have an actual conversation where you're listening and you can see them and you can hear the breath control, you can see, you know, all those things come into play, and podcasts can just totally change your whole perspective. And Stoke the Fire has been incredible for me. It's, you know, it's not a career move yet, but man, it really gives me a sense of purpose, and, you know, I love it. I love it.
Yeah. And it's something that you can make bigger too, man. Like I had Matt on the podcast, too, and it was afterwards and after we did ours, and I was telling him, like, you guys this could be a live, you know, obviously if we get out of the pandemic shit, this is a live event type of scenario.
When, don't say if, when, don't say
when, right. When, manifest, when, so when it becomes a thing, like you guys can do Stoke the Fire live, where it's like an event where people come out, there's an actual giant bonfire. You guys are sitting around talking, there's food or whatever, you know, like, I think it's a good thing. You could make it a thing aside from just a podcast show. It could become like a lifestyle thing, you know?
Yeah. We eventually want it to be like a mini travel show too, you know, because one of our heroes collectively is Anthony Bourdain.
That's who I want to be when I grow up.
Yeah, seriously, man. That guy changed everything for me. And I was a huge fan of his show, and watching him progress from cocky New York chef to wise, considered, still slightly sarcastic older man. Like, I love that journey, and the fact that he'll go into people's homes and their kitchens and into these very intimate environments and have these seemingly quote unquote normal conversations about everyday life. And they become profound because the respect he had for what he did. And I think that's it for Matt and I, is like, we approach everybody like they're important. There's no like, you know, we're not looking at our ratings going, shit, this, we shouldn't have this person on, you know, Faye from whereverville. Like, and when you hear their stories and we sit back, we're like, no, this is it. This is what it's all about. It's the human condition, the human experience, stories, people being able to tell their story, because you don't know what that story is going to do for somebody who's listening. Even if it's just a handful of people that hear that one particular story and they're like, whoa, I get this. I'm not alone. I totally get this. And we've had those moments, and it's just such a blessing. And yeah, something I would love to turn into more of a career thing at some point, you know. I'm very comfortable with just listening to people. I'm very empathetic. But it does take a little bit out of you, depending on the story. You know, we've had some pretty heavy stories, but I think that's what it's all about, though, you know?
Absolutely, man. I mean, the time I spent on the show, afterwards, I remember telling my wife, I'm like, I think I unlocked some stuff.
See, that's awesome. Yeah. Love that. You like, as you're saying it, you are realizing it. That's beautiful. I love to hear that. That's so cool.
Yeah, man.
I think that's all about.
That was with me after for a couple of weeks of just like, wow, like there's, you know, I had anxiety. I felt like I knew the source of it, but then once we talked about it and we had that conversation, it kind of just unlocked everything. Like, oh, okay, that's what it all is. I got it. You know, and I appreciate you guys taking me there. That's the thing, and that's what people don't understand, that why it's so important what you guys are doing. Like, having that connection with the guest and the crowd and the fans, and everybody can just be a part of this conversation. I think it's super important. I think so. I really appreciate what you guys are doing. And
thanks, dude.
If you guys are listening right now to this and you're not aware of what I'm talking about, go to Stoke the Fire. Go listen to every episode. There, you just had Brian, the chef,
Brian Sal. Yeah,
and you know, and again, more like connections of people that love music, they love food. It's like, this is a whole thing, I think, what you're doing, for sure.
Yeah, we're trying to diversify, but it's kind of tough, you know, because I know so many musicians. So we got Adam D coming up, where I actually am proud I got him to go a little bit deep.
Oh, no, I am stoked to hear that.
I set a goal, Matt and I was like, look, when he comes on, like, we're going to push past his jokey facade and his surfacey way he handles himself, and let's make him talk. And we did.
Good.
So he definitely has said stuff that I know he hasn't said on other interviews. And we just did Melissa Cross, my vocal teacher.
She's great.
Who has a profound, I think that's probably one of the best episodes we have locked and loaded, ready to go in the next few weeks. And the list goes on. I've reached out to a ton of people. It's just by default, a lot of musicians, but we want to get chefs, comedians, bartenders, like service industry people, poets, writers, whatever. Nothing's off the table. And I think that's what makes the show interesting. And we'll continue to develop that and figure it out. And I think we're starting to hone in on what we're good at. And yeah, it's a journey, man. It's a journey. And I'm blessed to be able to be a part of that and to do it. It's awesome.
Absolutely, man. I mean, you're staying busy during the pandemic, dude. You've got the show, and I know from what I understand, you're doing like multiple a day just to kind of have them, right? Because you want to have that. That's where I'm at. I'm sitting on like 6 episodes and just trying to figure out, how do I release all of this?
I think we have like 3 or 4 in the chamber because we both took a pretty big break, but now with the 6-week tour coming up. We're going to try to cram in a bunch, 2 or 3 a day for sure.
Yeah, because you got to keep the consistency. You got to have some, I guess, at least weekly or something. It's interesting, these rules that we put on ourselves, right? No one's is someone telling you a number of
actually, yeah, we are on a network that requires one a week. But we've actually talked about maybe doing 2 a week just to like one up it. Like, I think 1 a week is enough for me right now, especially if touring starts to happen again. But yeah, I could do it not every day. Actually, that's a lie. I could not do it every day. It takes a lot out of me. I could do a few episodes a week for sure, because I do enjoy it that much. But I need breathing time too. When you're engaging people on that level, and it's not shallow. It's not just about, oh, you wrote a book or you got an album coming out. Like, it's not surfacey. It's like you're talking and hearing people's stories of addiction or abuse, or that's just, because
it's heavy, man. Like you said,
I care. I'm not just sort of going, like I actually hold on to it and I'm listening, I'm engaging. And when I'm done, it stays with me for a little while. So, but to me, that's how I know it's good. At least for somebody like me, that we make the podcast that I would like to listen to.
Okay.
One of my favorite podcasts is called The Moth, and anyone who knows it might chuckle, but it's an NPR, National Public Radio, storyteller thing. So people just come on and they tell stories, and it could be like a 10-minute story. It could be a 20-minute story. They're funny. They're sad. They're informative. They just run the gamut. It's just everyday people telling a story. And that was the first podcast I ever listened to. And I was like, what a brilliant idea. Just a person and a microphone in a room full of people, and they just talk.
Yeah.
And it's good. The majority of them are good. And they're just people telling stories. I love it. There's something about it, man. I think it just kind of like goes to our most basic thing as humans, and the idea of Stoke the Fire came from sitting around a fire. And what do you do when you sit around a fire with a bunch of friends? You usually, have a drink, you talk life. It's where we all came from. All of our ancestors. That's what the social time of day when you would sort of talk about the things and the problems or, tell stories, was sitting around the fire. And I think that just sort of like speaks to our most basic connectivity as humans, is just stories. Stories are amazing. I've always loved stories. When I was a kid, and we'd have, the time where we'd go to the library and the librarian would hold up the book and read the book and show you as a kid. Like, I just was like, that's the most fascinating shit ever. Yeah. Stories. Love it.
Yeah, I've always loved. I mean, as a kid as well. Just I even breaching into the comic books and whatnot. Those kinds of stories too, the fictional kind. But
those are brilliant. Comic books are brilliant.
Yeah, that's where I learned a lot about multiverses and all that, which I then discovered after when I started meditating and taking mushrooms and all that. Like, oh, that's what these guys are doing. I get it.
Comic books and sci-fi, like they've been trying to tell us messages for years, dude.
Everything's coming true. You look at these old sci-fi movies. I mean, we're having a conversation on a screen from across the country. I mean, people can do it on their smartwatches. There's a lot of things from sci-fi. I truly believe we'll get to the point where we'll get teleportation. I think that's happening at some point. I hope.
I wonder if we already do have that technology. We just don't know about it.
Probably.
You never know, dude.
You never know.
The stuff that they allow us to have, like this, you show somebody this in the 80s.
Oh, my God, man. Well,
mind-blowing, right?
We have all of the answers of the universe right here.
And yet we're getting stupider somehow. But
well, that's what it is, because we're dependent on it. That's what it is. We don't have to think anymore. I don't have to store that information. I don't have to do math for you anymore. Beep, boop, beep, boop. There it is. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that's why we're getting dumber, because we're...
But this is what they've given us to use. So can you imagine... whoever they are, that could be a whole other conversation. Or even just the military industrial complex. What kind of technology do they have? They've got cameras that can see you from like 40, 50 miles, satellites that could zoom in on your house. Like and we can do that. So what do they have, dude? Exactly. So who knows if we already have teleportation? Who knows, dude?
Exactly. You look.
I don't rule it out.
The thing is that people I don't like getting conspiracy theory, into that realm, but there are actual documents that you can read where our government is experimenting with remote scientific viewing or what, like teleporting mentally, like.
Used it in wars, dude. They've used the people who have telepathic abilities. They've used that in warfare,
and yet we treat it like it's fiction. Like people are just like, oh, that's make believe. That's a story. No, we have to.
Well, it's because it's fear. People are afraid. That's why the term conspiracy theory was even created. People who are questioning the status quo and questioning the narrative were ostracized and made to look stupid and lunatics, and like all that shit was created by the people who are controlling us. So I'm happy to sit in a conspiracy theory thing. Sure, there is stuff I don't agree with. Sure, there's stuff that I'm like, that's just too much. Not everything's a conspiracy. But there's shit that people were saying 10 years ago that's like, yeah, this has happened. The government's come out and said, yes, there are aliens. It happened like recently. And people are just like, carrying on.
I guess we were right. All right, let's move along.
But that just goes to show you the reality we're living in right now, where you have this, and this is why I don't engage a lot anymore, because the truth is supposed to be an absolute, right? You talk in absolutes. This is philosophical. This is theological. There are people that believe there are absolute things. This is the truth. We know this to be true. There's no wavering. There's no not science has proven this, but like, I truly believe truth is like a stretched fabric, and we're all seeing different points of it, and we're all arguing this thing that's like on this crazy, chaotic, swirling matter. Like, I just truly believe nobody truly has the answers. And when you think you've got it all figured out, that's automatically showing me that you're wrong, because there's so more that we just don't know. So to me, like, I love engaging. I love having conversations, but I'm not an arguing guy. Yeah. I won't argue for the most part. I'm like, I want to hear what you have to say. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I may not agree with it completely, but I'm allowing you to say it. I'm not going to get violent or angry about it unless you're insulting me personally. But I think that's the beauty of where we are right now with all of the information that we do have. You can go on your own research trip and get all this information and think, oh, I've figured it out. But how do you know that information you just researched is true? Right. Like, how do you know that person didn't manipulate the thing you just researched? So it's always funny to me how we have all these people on the internet now who are like so angry, and they're like conspiracy, and they're like government loves us and medical science, and like that's a lie. And like, to me, there's a gray area around all that, because there's truths and there's lies on either side of this thing. So we don't know. So I think humility needs to transpire, and discussions need to transpire. And we need to like embrace the fact that, unity, coming together and sharing information and trying to help each other instead of just combating each other is everything, because the technology we have is incredible. It's absolutely incredible. But how is it progressing us? How is it? I don't know if it is in some cases. I think it's making us degress.
Absolutely.
It's kind of sad to me, honestly.
Yeah. I said it the other day, and people were giving me shit about it, but you need to have to take a test and pass a certification to post shit online. Because get out of here, bro. I don't think everyone needs to be posting stuff on the internet.
Well, yeah, that's the beauty of it, is they can for the most part.
Yeah, like we need to have someone, like, you need to have an IQ of a certain point. Like, I don't know, something needs to happen, because, my dad the other day called me freaking out that the government in America, he's in Mexico, so he's like, the government in America is forcing oil tankers to dump oil all over the country. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he sends me a TikTok video of some dude in the middle of nowhere talking about how he got a letter and he was going to get fined if he didn't dump all this oil everywhere. And I told my dad, I'm like, Dad, that's not oil. First of all, that's tar. And that video is bullshit. And you're freaking out. It's rough. Like that's, some people are naive, like my dad, or you don't know any better, and they see this video and they're like, what? Are you serious? And it's like, no.
Or some of those videos are brilliant, manufactured videos, that you call them false flags. Like, I truly believe there's a movie called Wag the Dog. I've pointed a lot of people to that. It's like, not everything you see is real. There's shit they're acting out to cause a reaction, and people call it conspiracy theory. It's not. It's fact. It's fact. So you don't know what the truth is. And you're right. Going back to your main point and not going too far down the rabbit hole, back in the day, you used to have to have a degree to stand in front of a room full of people and say, this is what's going on. And now it's like you can just come off the street and go, this is the truth. And everyone's like, really? Why? And if you have something compelling, people are going to believe you. Whether or not it's true, it doesn't matter. Truth, it doesn't matter. The whole term fake news started coming out. It's like, as much as that annoys people and it causes people to be angry, there's some truth to that fake shit, because not every news report is accurate. You're talking about people who are owned by these massive companies, and there's like 3 or 4 people that own them. And if they don't want you to say something, you're not going to say something. So that you can say that about people and everyday people in the street. If they come upon information, it's filtered through their mind, and they're either going to get mad at it and say that's a lie, or they're going to go, oh, wow, that's true. And I'm going to show you, this is it. And you look at the article or the thing, and with your mind, you're like, you're an idiot. That's not totally not what it is. That's what we're doing. We're playing ping pong with intellectualism, and a lot of it is just stupid. It's just people pissing on each other. Well, yeah, it's crazy.
I think that's why I had that trip of the we have to stop it. If we're not gonna, if we're heading towards a chaotic outcome if it continues this way. And look, I saw today, Elon Musk has revealed his robots.
Oh boy, yeah,
robots. And you know what the fuck he said out loud? Oh, it was designed so that you can take it down and it can't overpower you. I'm like, so you already know it's going to attack, and you're designing it intentionally that we'll be able to fight back. You're assuming that we're going to fight back.
Like that movie, I, Robot. I got to put a fan on my head here.
Yeah. Dude, so we're heading towards this technological advancements that are just going to get crazier and crazier. And I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm all for the unity idea of the, what's it called? The, when everything is together, AI and humans are all together. There's a word. I forget what it was called. They gave it a word. There's a movie called Transcendence about it. Oh my God. Oh, well, whatever.
It'll come to you. It'll come to you.
But the idea that we're going to merge with the internet at some point. That's,
well, there are already people. I think it was a TED talk I had listened to where this guy has, because of a defect in his brain, he had a chip implant into his head. And he already is connected, like he can just kind of call up things in his head, and he's connected to a Wi-Fi type system.
That's the Neuralink thing. That's the Elon Musk Neuralink thing.
So that already exists. And again, if that guy has it, there's other people that have it. And again, the information that we're allowed to see that is public knowledge, what are we not seeing? And I think there's always that element, and people call that quote unquote conspiracy theory or crazy, but I truly think like there's so much information that we don't have access to. And I think that that's good and it's bad. Not everybody needs to know everything, and the whole alien thing to me is fascinating, because you get some people that swear it doesn't happen. You get some people who said I've been abducted. In the alien element of, if we actually really paid attention to that, it would change everything in the world. If people actually believed it and it became quote unquote fact, which technically, according to some people it is, it would change your whole worldview. And that could be good or bad too. It could cause chaos. It could cause unity, harmony. I have no idea.
Yeah, people could give up. Be like, oh shit, everything I knew was wrong.
Yeah, or that would help. It would actually put religion into question too. Like, well, where is that in the Quran or the Bible? Or, how come? And there are people that say that it is there. You watch that show Ancient Aliens, people chuckle, but like they're pointing towards Zoroastrianism, the old Ayurvedic books. And I don't even know if that's the right term, but they have been talking about them.
The Emerald Tablets, bro.
Yeah, I'm so fascinated by all that shit. But to me, like, I'm not militant about that shit. I got a smile on my face. To me, it's lighthearted. It's like, I feel like people just take shit way too serious when it comes to that. And these days, I've literally learned to just lighten up about it, because there's too much division. There's too much anger. There's too much arguing. And I think we're already in that state of chaos. I think this is the most chaos that we've ever experienced because of disinformation and information. And it's a lot, man. And how could you not be anxious when it comes to the state of the world we're in these days, man?
Exactly.
It's a lot, which is, again, why I just need to take breaks. I haven't done an interview or podcast in a long time, and like, I'm in really good spirits because I haven't really been talking or digging deep. And I think that's important, balance.
For sure. And you were in a cycle for a little bit with the whole Times of Grace album. You had to do a bunch of interviews.
Oh, yeah.
And
that was a lot.
You get in that zone where you're answering the same questions, and like just kind of you forget what you're, which conversation you're having with who, what I mean?
Well, to me too, it was just like that album is so deep. So, I would have these interviews and they would ask me a question and it's not a simple answer. And I just can't help but give you the right answer, the correct answer. So it would really like rehash, wounds and reopen scars. And yeah, it was a good, 2 or 3 week period where I was doing 10, 12 a week.
Wow.
Maybe.
Wow.
On top of doing podcasts, on top of it was a lot, man. But that's important too. And that's the thing too with my brain and with what I do and who I am and what I put out there. I feel like I kind of have to, I'm trying to contribute, like you said, to help people. I've got this crazy deep need in me to help somehow. And even if just coming out of my comfort zone, because I'm kind of a hermit, I'm kind of a recluse when it comes to my regular everyday life. And I just feel called, I feel compelled to just try to help somebody somehow, because people have helped me, music has helped me, lyrics have helped me. I can't help it.
That's good.
It's important, man.
And you're doing a great job. Whether you like we were talking about anxiety and all that, like sometimes I'm sure you wonder about what you're putting out there, but I got to tell you, what you're doing is great. The podcast, the music, the lyrics, Times of Grace album is great. And I can't wait to hear what you do with, new Killswitch, and the weapon was fucking great too. Like you're putting out really good, meaningful stuff, which
thank you.
Even from before, dude. Like when I first heard you was back in, the first Killswitch, not a first, but I started with Alive or Just Breathing. And then, I went back to the self-titled, but, those lyrics, man, they were at a perfect time in my life too. It was right when I was exploring Peru and all that shit. And I was thinking about the messages that were in the songs, and it's just very, very powerful stuff, man. So you're doing it well, is what I'm trying to say.
I'm doing the best I can. I have my good days and bad days. Days where I'm like, yeah, I got this. This feels good. And days where I'm like, am I doing? Everybody has those days. I've been having a lot of them lately, which is really weird. But again, I think it's just the whole psyche behind getting back out on the road and being faced with doing this tour thing during what we're going through. It's definitely kind of freaking me out a little bit. It's such a weird time to be in a huge public space, so. it'll be a challenge, but
you guys, well, so are they doing these shows that you're doing? Do you know if it's mandatory vaccination card thing? Like, is there
I don't
rules?
know I don't know about the crowds. I wouldn't be surprised. I feel like everyone's doing that nowadays. Mm-hmm. But I know for the backstage area and like they're going to have somebody like regulating and like making sure we maintain distance, making sure people wear masks. Like, it's from what I gather, and I haven't gotten the official thing from Slipknot yet, but it looks like it's going to be lockdown style. Like, not joking, like legitimately, like we've got our bubble between the bus and the dressing room, and that's where we can go. And then days off the hotel, and they're asking us not to go out to eat. They're asking us not to have, friends, family, managers, anyone come into our bubble, including mingling with other bands and stuff. So like, it's legitimately like Killswitch in a bubble, playing shows and not having anyone interact or come out, or like, it's going to be very strict, because I think that's just how it has to happen. I mean, honestly, in reality, I think it's a bit early to start touring. And if it wasn't Slipknot, I think we probably would have said no, but it's Slipknot, and it's like, we would be stupid to say no to this.
Right, of course.
So we just have to follow the rules and be vigilant and, I don't want to say paranoid, but careful,
Careful.
And it'll be, I'm not looking forward to it, honestly. 6 weeks of kind of isolation. And as much as I love my band and crew, you get tired of each other after a while. I'm sure the first couple of weeks are going to be just fine. We're like, yeah, it's good to see you guys again. And then especially me, I get super hermity, so I tend to hide. But
that's gonna be an interesting. I want to know. I want to talk to you, not on the show. If you want to do it on the show, great. Let's do it on the show. But I want to talk to you when you come back from it, because I want to know like how that feels. That is it the same, like the vibe, because it sounds kind of taxing, the being in that isolation, not just being around your bandmates, but just not being able to connect with the fans, because that's obviously you love jumping in the crowd, and you've done a lot of the meet and greets and all that, so it's going to be interesting. Yeah,
I'll do that, or I'll just if our bus is accessible, people stand near it and they wait and they talk to me after, and sometimes I'm really tired and I'm like, ugh. But 100% of the time, when I do engage and I do that, it's so rewarding.
Yeah.
That connection. Excuse me. Yeah. Oh, excuse me.
Yeah.
That connection that you get is everything, from audience to performer, and people telling me their stories and kind of keep me going out there. Cause, on a regular, just touring regular style, it gets lonely, it gets depressive, it gets hard. Because this is something that's not popular for someone like me to say, because everyone's like, you got your dream job. It's amazing. It's amazing. And it is. It's incredible. I love my job. But you can't help it. There are moments where it's just, you just want to, like, I wish I could just pull the covers over my head and go to my bed and, like, just not have a show tonight. The last thing in the world I want to do is stand in front of a room full of people and profess my deep emotions and my spirituality. So it's already hard to do that for me mentally. So doing it during this isolation, it's going to be a challenge. I'm going to read a lot of books, watch a lot of documentaries, play a lot of video games, and ride my bike as much as I possibly can. I bring my bicycle with me, and it's a lifesaver. Just get out to a park somewhere and just ride. Yeah. I'll keep my distance from people, but I'm definitely getting the fuck out of there whenever I can.
Well,
it's interesting, man. I feel like I'm blessed to do it. It's a total blessing, and I'm going to be grateful for it. But it won't be without some struggle, for sure. And then I'm going to miss my girl and my cats and all the stuff that's comforted me during this pandemic. I'm just jumping out of my comfort zone. So, but I digress. I am absolutely blessed.
Well, yeah, you got to think of it positively. The reason that you're going to feel negative later about missing your girl and your cats is because you have your girl and your cats.
Yeah.
It's a good thing to have.
This is the nicest and happiest home life I've ever had in my life. I spent a long time with the wrong person and very unhappy with my life. Tons of anxiety, a lot of like, ugh. And now I finally have a partner who's brutally honest and great. And I feel a sense of home. I feel like I'm actually home, which I've never really felt that way, which is why the road was always so nice to me, because I was getting away. I found my home on the road. So yeah, I guess if anything, it's just revisiting the past life before the pandemic and merging with the new life. So
yeah, you got to work it out.
Balance. Yeah, it's all about balance.
Yeah. So
we'll see.
We're at an hour, man. That's awesome. So I want to wrap up soon, but to kind of end in a like a lighter hearted note, you mentioned video games. What are you playing?
Okay, so I'm old school, and I like a specific type of video game. Okay. I'm not one of those people that can play a shooter game and like it's constant, like kill. I can't do that. But anything Assassin's Creed, I'm in. I don't have the newer stuff because I play on Switch. Switch is kind of my only system.
Okay.
So I have a bunch of the old ones I replay. Black Flag. I love Assassin's Creed. Zelda Breath of the Wild. I haven't beaten it yet. I legitimately have stopped myself from beating it because I love that game so much. I'm probably going to replay it all over again on tour.
Nice.
Skyrim? Old school Skyrim. I just bought that. I've been playing that. I love that game. And then just little fun stuff like, any Mario game. I love just to put me in a good mood. When the music starts, I'm like, ooh, happy.
Yeah.
So little things like that. It's actually huge for my mental health, before I go to bed or like if I'm in a weird spot. Video games tend to really help me out. I love them. They're fun.
Yeah, man. Yeah, me too. I mean, all that's video games back there. So it's part of my life. I mean, it's my day job. It's my wife's day job. So I love the feeling of it's kind of like reading a book. Like there's stories. I like those type of games like the Skyrim or a Final Fantasy where it's like reading a book. There's a lot of text to read. And then, you're doing quests. You have to figure stuff out in your head. It keeps my brain active. I've heard that there are tests and scientific research behind it, but that it helps with like dementia and that kind of stuff when you get older. So, I mean, I'm all for it because most of my family has dementia. So I'm like, it's coming. Or I got to make sure I train my brain a little bit, Yeah.
Yeah, it's something that, and it's funny too, because I kind of stopped for a while in my 30s, I was like, trying to pursue my career. I was working full time and then I got back on the road. And the moment I got back on the road and, to me, television, because on the tour bus, we have 2 TVs, like sitting through commercials makes me want to freaking shoot myself. I literally am that guy and everyone laughs, but like when commercials come on, I mute the TV. I'm like, don't yell at me. I've been like that ever since I was a kid. TV drives me absolutely nuts. And there's only so much you can do on tour. And when the bus is moving, there's only so many movies you can watch. If you bring a hard drive with movies, like I would watch the same one over and over again or read a book and then fall asleep reading a book. And then I remember Mike D was like, he had the little handheld game and our other guy, Cody, and they had Mario Kart and they were playing each other in their bunks. I'm like, yo, that's so cool. I actually bought it initially just to play Mario Kart with a couple of dudes on our bus. So we'd be in our bunks on a long day. We're just driving or whatever. And we're like challenging each other. And that was so much fun. And it kind of opened me up to like, well, what else is there? Like, well, and then when Zelda came out, that Breath of the Wild, I to this day, that's the best game ever made. It's absolutely incredible. Yeah. And it got me through like 4 or 5 tours solid where like I would run out of things to do. I'd be feeling bummed out. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I'd go in my bunk, pull a curtain, put my headphones on, turn that thing on and just be like, this is nice. I'm going to jump off this mountain and glide into the valley. And then you find a random thing on a mountain and it's like there's a message and like
I spent a lot of time cooking in that game too.
Yes, so much time. It's actually kind of annoying at times. It's like but those are my types of games, man. Yeah, like adventure and strategy and like if I'm going to do a killing type game, Assassin's Creed, where you're sneaking around, there's a plan. You're not just out like can't do those games. Mike D, our bass player, is super good at them, and I'll watch him play those games, and I'm like, I'm like, how do you not have anxiety? Yeah. And he's just like, I love the shit. I don't get it. I can't do it.
I play Warzone every once in a while, which is that type of game, and it's an interesting one because it's 4 people, or you can do 2 or 3, but I usually play with 4 people, and you're basically 4 soldiers in a war zone and you have to survive. And I'm just the guy in the back like, wait for me. What's going on?
Totally.
Yeah.
I like the games. I don't remember what they were called. We're talking years ago. It's like World War II style games where there's strategy behind it. You know, you got a scope and you're like zooming on the guy at the tower.
Sniper games, sniper elites.
That kind of stuff I can do. But if I'm just like constantly like every time I turn around the corner, there's an alien or something trying to kill me, like I can't do that. I like strategy type shit. That to me, that's fun. Like secret, slice someone with a rope. You know, come out from the bushes and like I'm in shit. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, man, it's fun. It's fun to figure out different ways around it. So, but dude, thank you so much for coming back on to the show.
Man.
I could talk to you forever, but I've never really done any episodes longer than an hour. I don't want to like drop a 3 hour on somebody, you know?
Yeah, that works for me anyway. Because I got a bunch of TV shows to watch and game. No, I was kidding. I'm gonna go back to watching Chopped after this, dude.
I got in the habit of watching Chopped while eating dinner. And it just,
I love it. That's what I do.
Yeah, man. It makes me like, next time I'm doing something differently. What can I do with a durian and some bananas?
Fucking durian. Yeah, I love cooking, man, and I definitely watch Anthony Bourdain reruns and Chopped when I cook, and then when we sit down to eat, it's either that or like old school Simpsons or Family Guy. Like that just puts me in a good mood, man. I don't know what it is about those types of shows, but. Love it. So yeah, honored, man. Thanks for having me on. This was fun. It was nice to spend an hour. Appreciate you, brother. Yeah. And I'm sure I'll talk to you soon.
We'll be talking soon. Everybody listening and watching, make sure follow and listen to Stoke the Fire. I'm telling you, it's worth it. It's a fantastic show. Follow Jesse. You have at Jesse_D_Leach is the professional one.
Yeah, Instagram. Yeah,
Instagram. And Times of Grace, a new album. It's been out for a bit now, but it's still fantastic. And you're hitting the road with Killswitch and Slipknot, for the love of God.
That's crazy.
I texted Adam that night. I'm like, Slipknot? He's like, yeah, dude. I'm like, yeah.
The 3-ring circus. I love it. It's incredible.
It's going to be fun.
Such a crazy live band. Yeah, it'll be fun, man.
It'll be fun. I try and... we were just going down a negative path, thinking about it, when we mentioned it. But I think you should try and enjoy it as much as you can.
Oh, I will. I definitely will. I think the good will definitely outweigh the bad for sure. And the fact that standing on stage with my brothers again in front of a room full of people, or a stadium full of people, really, that's going to be pretty healing for sure.
Absolutely.
I'm looking forward to that.
Absolutely, man.
All right, my man. Thank you, brother.
Take care, man.
Have a good night, and I'm sure we'll talk soon.
Absolutely,
Peace.
Man. Peace.
Feeling far from heavenless when dying love becomes reborn to fill the empty spaces with an air of purpose. Feeling far from heavenless when my fingers touch the elements. Grace and elegance, lips open to expose the soul. Is there forgiveness for a soul that wanders, or just bitterness moving onwards? A truth becomes reality. Only to those who feel the spirit.